Hello, this is Darrell Castle with today's podcast. Today is Friday, December 28th, 2012, and today we take a look at what we can expect in our future, economically speaking, along with a few other things. What can we expect in 2013? Well, right now, as you know, the country is dealing with what it calls the fiscal cliff. Congress, the leaders of Congress, that is, have returned from their Christmas vacation early, and they are meeting with President Obama today, who returned from his Hawaiian vacation, although his wife remains there as we speak. Congress as a whole is expected back into Washington on Sunday to deal with this fiscal cliff issue. Well, keep in mind, folks, that the fiscal cliff results from an act that was passed in 2011 called the Budget Control Act of 2011. This was passed by Congress to force themselves to do what they thought at that time was necessary. But now we're told it's a disaster. It was necessary in 2011. Congress passed it. Now it's a disaster that they're trying to find some solution to it. What would this act mean for us? Well, it means increased taxes. Congress and the president, the government, plan to increase tax revenue by almost 20% in 2013. That means $3,600 per year for most of us, and about $2,400 for those in the $50,000 to $75,000 income tax bracket. Capital gains taxes would go from 15 to 20%. The top income tax bracket would increase to 39.6%. At the same time, the spending cuts that are supposed to kick in would be very, very modest, spread out over a 10-year period, amounting to very, very little. The deficit goes on unabated. Does Congress know that increasing taxes actually hurts revenue? Well, the fact that they passed this act in 2011 tells me that they do know that. They do know that this is counterproductive and that it won't work, but they go on anyway. Taxes rob us. Taxes rob us. They rob us now of our income, of our labor. They suck productive income out of the economy. Taxes suck production from the economy, from private industry, from people who could use it to invest, to save, to buy new equipment, and to create jobs and so forth, and they transfer it to the government, a dead entity. That is what taxes actually do. Do you think all these Ivy League PhDs and lawyers understand this? It seems to me that they would, but they don't act as if they understand it. Taxes are in our future, then. We can see that. What else is in our future? Well, Congress has no solution to these economic problems. They had no solution in 2011, and they have no solution now. The only thing they can think to do is to continue to debase the currency. So increase taxes, number one, and continued debasement of the currency, number two. Stimulus, creating money out of thin air and pumping it into the banks at the rate of $85 billion a month. This is all debt that must be repaid. At least that's the way we see it now. This is Congress's answer and the president's answer to the problems that we face. Continue to debase the currency and continue to rob us with taxes and rob our futures with inflation, with this pent-up, built-up inflation that is coming. What makes economies grow? Well, they grow when people save more than they consume, and they invest the difference. They save more than they consume and invest the difference in new equipment and so forth, so that jobs are created. What kills growth? Well, pretty much what we're doing now. Heavy taxation, excessive regulation, control of interest rates, fiat versus real money, all leading to inflation and killing growth. This is things that we do now. We are counterproductive. We do the things that don't seem to work. We do them over and over and over. What else can we expect? Increased taxes, inflation, and Currency debasement, what else? Well, wars, obviously. There's no crystal ball in this podcast, folks. I certainly do not have one, but about as sure a thing as is possible to know in this human life is that our future involves wars and currency debasement. Certainly that is true. What else besides wars? Well, militarization of the United States. Since 1997, the United States government has given $2.6 billion in military equipment to local police forces, so that even the smallest police forces now in little communities have their own SWAT teams. In the early 80s, SWAT teams conducted 3,000 raids a year on average across the United States. Now it's 50,000. Increased use of drones within the United States. These drones now being equipped with laser weapons in the United States, folks, to watch our every movement and to hover over us. Soon they will be armed right here in the United States. Other things that are happening, the MAP 21 Act, this is a good one, folks. We should do a whole podcast on this sometime. Moving Ahead for Progress in the 21st Century Act. That's literally what it's called. I know it's laughable. I didn't name it. This is what Congress named it, MAP, M-A-P 21. Moving Ahead for Progress in the 21st Century. That's what they call this act. There are many things in it, of course. Every auto sold in the United States starting in 2015 must have a black box collecting information and delivering it to the government so that the government can follow and monitor the progress as we travel down the roads of each of us in real time. They know where we are. That is, in that act that it's already been passed. This is the same act that forces us to link our passports and passport applications to the taxes that the government says we owe. This is the end of privacy and locking the doors to prevent the slaves from escaping. That is the way I see it anyway. Homeland Security, in the meantime, has ordered over 1 billion bullets. They seek to disarm us. Dianne Feinstein and her ilk in the Senate and in Congress say that we should not be allowed to have semi-automatic weapons, but Homeland Security has ordered over 1 billion bullets. What does all this add up to? Well, oppression, division, conquest, divide and conquer, as usual, step by step, little by little. It all seems so innocuous, but little by little we surrender, we forfeit our civil liberties. That is our future, I'm afraid. I will look for something of good news to tell you about 2013. Maybe it will come to my attention. But right now, folks, this is the way I see it. December 28, 2012. Until next time, folks, this is Darrell Castle. Thanks for listening.